everyone. I'm Debbie Stokes of Three Women Voices. Welcome. Today, I have a special guest, LeTonya Moore. She is an award-winning business and brand protection attorney. She protects brands, babies, and bottom lines. It is her passion to show others how to create a legacy and protect their brand. She is also an entrepreneur, an author, and a media personality. She has more than 15 years of experience working with clients both small and large. However, Natanya's primary focus is helping entrepreneurs and families succeed. Today, I introduce to you Miss LeTonya Moore. Hi, how are you, Miss LeTonya?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, and thank you for being here. Why is it important to leave a legacy for children?
Well, I think for me, what makes me most passionate about that is I'm a fourth generation entrepreneur. So a lot of people hear that and they're like, oh my gosh, wow, 4 generations. My great grandfather was a farmer. My grandfather was a tailor extraordinaire. My father has been in the restaurant and entertainment business for, oh my gosh, like almost 40 years. So it's been a while. And then you have me. But the reason that it's important, and to speak to your question, is because no one passed a business down. So each time, each generation, that person had to start over. And it's very important to me that we have an obligation as business owners to, at a minimum, leave a foundation for our children and our grandchildren and those of us that, we're responsible for them being here. So that's why it's so important to me that we start being legacy focused versus just, I just need to make a couple dollars.
Right. Yes. Okay, so tell everybody what a legacy is.
Well, to me, a legacy means that it's something tangible that you leave behind. So for some people, it's property. For some people, it's influence. For some people, it is, quote unquote, a good name or a good reputation. And if you think about it, when you think about major brands like Firestone, right? Firestone is a family name. Mm-hmm. But they also have a company or a brand that I think is like 5 or 6 generations now. So when you think about that, that is what a legacy is. A legacy is that thing that continues to live on even after that original person is gone.
Mm-hmm. Got you. Okay. So now tell everyone, I gave a little introduction about you and your business, but tell everybody more about your business, what you do.
Wow. So I'll say what I'm most proud of.
Okay.
What I'm most proud of is this year I've had the opportunity, as you mentioned at the top of the hour, I do work with legacy-driven entrepreneurs who are focused on leaving that legacy that we talked about. Most important, and what I like and I'm most excited about and most proud of is I've recently launched a legal education I want to say company, but it's more like another vertical within our firm here.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you. That teaches people how to handle their own legal business. I think that now with people, there's so much information and people are so exposed to things that I think that they are, who's more capable than you on some things. I won't say everything, but on some things in handling your business. So we do have the legal education company. On the legal services side, mm-hmm. I work with people that are looking to fund their businesses in the sense of making sure that they're raising money the right way. Okay. So I do deal with investors and investees. I also do tax resolution work where we assist people in resolving high-end debt. Okay. That they owe to the IRS. And in addition to those things, we work directly with businesses on building infrastructure and growth strategies. And so one of the other initiatives is assisting small businesses and micro businesses in being positioned and prepared to really competitively compete for government and corporate contracts.
Okay, wow. Congratulations, I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Yes. So tell me, what is the downside to not leaving a legacy?
Well, one of the downsides is, your kids or whoever you leave behind, they have to start over. The other part of it, the part that people don't like to think about, oftentimes people leave debt. And now you're leaving a mess for other people to have to clean up. The additional downside is that, you've worked all of your life, regardless of what your situation is. But, and people hear all of your life and they're like, well, what about people that may pass away when they are young, but you still had an entire life? Like, that was your entire life. So you work all your entire life and there's nothing left of you. It's like you never existed because there's nothing left. And again, a legacy isn't always about money. Sometimes it's about influence. And sometimes it's about reputation. If I may, very quickly, I had the pleasure last year, I was in the Bahamas for a speaking engagement, and I had the pleasure of meeting Dr. Miles Monroe's son, Miles Monroe Jr.
Okay.
And he shared how there are so many rooms that he's been in, and this was what he said. So this is not my own assessment. This is what Miles said. And he said, I've been in so many rooms that I don't deserve to be in. And I'm in those rooms because of my father, because of his reputation, because of what he built. That's why people are now inviting me to a table that I didn't establish for myself. Because of the foundation that my father laid. And he said that on the panel, and we talked more extensively about that, which, for me in my heart, it helped me understand that this is it. Like, these are the stories that I want my clients' children to tell. These are the stories that I want my children, and hopefully at some point grandchildren to tell. So and so you miss that when you fail to think about it in that way. You really miss that.
Okay, that's really powerful information you just shared. So now, I know you said that there are financial legacies, and then you mentioned about the other legacies. So that was my next question. Describe some of the financial legacies, and then describe some of the non-financial legacies.
So from a financial standpoint, we're talking about things like real estate, stock, intellectual property. A lot of people forget about that. There are people that own patents, copyrights, trademarks. Those things have a financial value attached to it. You also have, really anything that any asset, right? And I have to say asset because people own a lot of things. If you have art, if you are a collector of things, if you, for example, if you work in a franchise, now you can pass that along to your child. So a business would be a financial legacy. And I always tell people, even if you think that your children won't want it, let them decide.
Okay.
Let them decide. So from a financial standpoint, it's that the non-tangibles or the intangibles and non-financial are things like I described in the Miles Monroe Jr. Scenario. It's that thing that will open a door for your next generation when you're no longer there to make that phone call. And I realize that there are people that are of the mind that, well, I did it myself, and so I want, my son or my daughter to do it themselves. And it's not that they won't chart their own path, but how much further will they be and will they go if you start? If you give them a foundation, the only way to you have to think about it like passing a baton in the relay, right? You're never gonna win. You're never gonna win unless a baton is passed. If a person doesn't pass the baton, the other person can't go. And that's essentially what you're doing when you don't leave these things. So when you don't have the assets, the tangible and the financial assets, you know, your good name, your the other intangibles are things like, you know, teaching them the requisite skills that they need to navigate life and to be successful. One of the things that I've always said as a parent is that I want to teach my children everything that I know. Now, what they do with that knowledge is up to them.
Right.
But they can't say, you know, that mama didn't teach them.
Didn't teach you, that's right.
The things that she knows.
Yes.
And so, because one day, mom or dad or whoever, auntie, uncle, grandfather, you're not going to be there to ask the question.
Yeah, that's right.
That's why you need to teach them everything that you don't know, and also being honest about the things that you don't.
Yeah, that makes sense. So now, if a parent wanted to leave, parent or guardian wanted to leave a legacy, what would be the process they would have to go through?
Wow, that's a huge question, right? So
Okay.
I'm assuming we're talking about from a financial standpoint.
Yes.
So everybody has their own school of thought. So I'll just answer the question generally.
Okay.
You want to make sure that there is a next person attached to everything that you have. We automatically do it with things like life insurance policies because you have to. What most people don't think about, if you're a working parent, I'll use this as an example. If you're a working parent, you want to make sure that your human resources department knows who the beneficiary of your job's insurance policy is. So a lot of times they just have insurance, you know, you take out the insurance, they pay for it, and they never do the paperwork.
That is so true.
So they're like, well, who do we give this to? And they don't know. And then they have to try to sort it out.
Yeah.
Make sure that that's done. Make sure that they know that if something happens to you, where your vacation time, your annual leave, the things that you're entitled to be paid for, your 401k, if you're a federal employee, your TSP, make sure that you have beneficiaries on that. Also make sure at your bank that you have something called a payable on death directive. And that means that if, you know, when you die, you know, there's a particular person who gets the money. Right. And you just take that and give it to the bank and make sure that they have it. So when that person presents with a, you know, a certified death certificate, they're able to get that. I mean, there are a lot of ways that you can avoid having to do some of this stuff, but for the people that aren't going to do it, you want to make sure that you do that. I think that you have to have a will regardless. Don't say I don't have anything. You want to make sure that you have a will, because if nothing else, the will outlines what your wishes are. Now, of course, there are so many other things that you can do, but in general, those will be some of the top things that I would say do. So anything that you're working on, if you have a business and you have an LLC, in your LLC, especially, a lot of people just throw up an LLC because they say, oh, well, I need to just protect my assets, but they don't think about post-life decisions. So what happens to who's responsible for winding up the LLC when you're gone? That needs to be in your paperwork. Somebody needs to know about that. So those are the types of things that I would say you definitely want to do. One other thing that now has been new in the last few years is making sure that you have someone that you have designated to be the custodian of your online information, your Gmail passwords, your Facebook, your social media access. Facebook actually has in your profile, you can actually go in and designate who is the person, you know, once you pass away, who is a person. The person has to have a Facebook page, but who is the person that you're authorizing to get access to your page? Because if you don't, that page will remain up because you don't own it. You don't own any information in that Facebook. You own none of that because they own the platform. So again, these are things that people don't think about. The code to your cell phone. People, anything that you have an account with a password to, you want to make sure that you have that listed somewhere. and you need to make sure that someone knows where that is and can get access to it, you know, after you pass away.
Okay, okay. So now I remember you mentioned about a will. So like you said, there are complications that come with if you don't have things set up in writing. So what are some complications that could arouse, after you're gone and you have financial things that you leave behind? Because I know you can have family fighting and things like that.
Right. Now, I mean, you definitely can't control family fighting, but one of the
Okay.
things that I want you to, that I definitely would like for your listeners and viewers to get is, you have to think about everything. Like these are the types of things that you don't really want to do online yourself.
Okay.
I know that people are going to do it, which is why we set up the Brand Protection Institute, which is an academy like we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of the will, in terms of fighting, if you have a will now, so let's say that you're a single person,
mm-hmm.
and you don't have any children, and you create a will today, 6 years down the road, you're married with 2 kids.
Mm-hmm.
You die in year 7 and you never update that will.
Okay.
That's a problem.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Right?
Yeah.
Because the people that are named in the will automatically assume that, well, he left a will, so all of this goes to us, versus you, wife, and you, children, who were not, either it didn't exist at the time, or you just weren't in that relationship. That's not the case. And so the law is set up to protect widows and orphans.
Okay.
Of course, it's different from state to state. So I'm speaking, definitely from a general standpoint. That's one of the things that can go wrong. Okay. The other thing too is people don't update them.
Oh, okay.
They'll do a will in 1980 and they die in the year 2000 and they haven't updated it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's why you need to work with a professional who can help you with those things. Mm-hmm. Let's say, and this is just very quickly, let's say that you have a car collection, okay, right, which is a collectible. Mm-hmm. But then in your will, you say that you leave all cars to X and all collectibles to Y.
Okay.
But you have now you have an item that's both. Who gets it? Because you did the will yourself. Yeah. So what I'm saying is there are certain things that you need to sit down with a professional that can help you sort out all of those things.
Right.
You also want to make sure, again, that you keep it up to date. That's one of the horrible things. Even if you want to keep it the same, let's go back to the same scenario where someone got married later and had children later. Mm-hmm. Even if you want to keep it the same, just redo it and make it current. But also, okay, you have to address the fact that you have a wife. You have to address the fact that you have a child, that you have children. Okay. And you have to put in there your intent not to include them, or else the law is going to include them. So there are lots of different things. And that's why when we say we protect brands, business, and babies and bottom lines, because we deal with all of these issues, especially with our corporate clients.
Got you. Okay. Okay. So now what are some tax complications that could arouse when a person inherits a legacy?
Oh, wow. It really depends on what it is that you actually are getting. The one thing, and so we can look at real estate. So when you get real estate, and of course, there are lots of different factors, how much is the estate overall? How much did you get? So a lot of the estate taxes really comes down to, is this estate more than $1 million or whatever the threshold is in your state? There are a lot of different factors, but just in general, let's say that you inherit a home.
Okay.
And what happens is the IRS looks at what was the value of the home when you inherited it. Okay. And what's the present value of the home. And then when you sell that home, there are some tax consequences to the quote unquote profit that was made during the time. Okay. Now, there are several different ways that you can deal with that and what you do with the money and all of these sorts of things. But in general, those are the types of issues that you run into. It's the same thing with stock.
Okay.
The value of the stock when you inherit it versus the value when you sell it.
Okay.
What was the profit from that? And all of those things. There are certain things that are taxed once you inherit it. And so those are the types of things, which is why it's very important that you talk with your tax accountant or your CPA or a lawyer that is well versed in tax, which typically a good estate planning attorney should also either be well versed in tax or make sure that they connect you with a CPA who is, so that they can explain the tax implications of the plans that you're making.
Okay, got you. Okay, good information. So now when is it a time when you shouldn't leave a legacy? Or is there never?
In my opinion, never.
Okay.
Because a legacy is going to leave itself.
Okay.
If you don't leave a legacy, your legacy is the person that left a whole bunch of debt to their family. That's still your legacy. You got to decide, do you want it to be do you want it to be something positive that your family and the people that you leave behind can grow upon? Or do you want it to be something that, may invoke shame or embarrassment? But either way, you gonna leave a legacy.
You gonna leave
one way or the other. Now, in terms of some of the other factors, people may not want to do certain things, but in terms of a legacy, I think you always leave one, whether you intend to or not.
Okay. Okay. Now, another question. When you have kids, a lot of people tend to put things in children's names. What should they do when they're leaving a legacy? Should you ever put anything into a child under 18 years old's name?
It depends on what it is.
Okay.
Because certain things, even though it's in their name, they can't technically take control, or they can't take control of it until they are of legal age. And that legal age or age of majority is different from state to state. It's not always 18. Like Alabama, for example, is 19.
Okay.
So you have to think about those things. So if you are going to leave something to a child, and you're doing it before they are of age, you want to make sure that you have a trustee or a custodian that is the person who oversees that up until whatever age you want to set for the child to be able to oversee it themselves.
Okay.
I personally believe, and this is a personal belief of mine, I personally believe that you should always include your kids in certain things.
Okay.
Because what that does, it can secure some things for them, and again, giving them that head start that they otherwise may not have.
Okay, got you. Okay. So now, this is the last question. Can you give some tips or advice to people that we haven't discussed about leaving a legacy and why it's important?
Wow. That we haven't discussed. I think that
or you can go deeper into it.
Well, I will say this, when I think about if we look at just society in general and where things are going, I think we have to ask ourselves, and these are really individualistic questions. You have to ask yourself, what do I want my child's quality of life to be like when they're my age? Right? Because sometimes, we're working to take care of our children, to provide for our family, but we may be at a job that we absolutely hate.
Okay.
So how beautiful would it be that when your kid is your age, right, they don't have to deal with that unless they want to. Because you have created something that gives them that option. Not that you don't want them to understand the value of hard work, but I think that you can do both. I think that you can teach them the value of hard work. You can teach them the tools and the requisite skills to be great stewards over the things that you have entrusted to them. but also position them to not be in a place where they're stuck,
Got you.
right? Because it kind of creates almost like a, for lack of a better word, like a plantation mentality. Like, well, I just got to do this because I can't do anything else. I can't go anywhere else. And you do become, you know, almost a slave to that particular circumstance.
Okay.
So what I would say is think about that. That's the one tip that I would give. Think about what you would want things to be like, even for yourself.
Okay.
In 2 years, 5 years, 1 year, 2 days. I mean, depending on the situation.
So when you run across a mentality that says, I don't want to leave anything for my kids, nobody that ever left me anything, what do you say to that?
Nothing. And I'll tell you why. I don't say anything because that's a personal choice.
Okay.
For me, it's not about convincing other people that this is something they should do.
Okay.
It's about assisting the people who want to do this but don't know how.
Okay. Okay.
Those are the folks that I talk to. Those are the people that I have the conversations with, because I don't see this as a crusade.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't see this as a crusade. I see this as sharing information that I never knew, because the people that raised me, as great and phenomenal as they are, they didn't know, because if they did, trust me, they would have.
Yeah.
So for me, I think about, I ask myself the same question: what would I have wanted someone else to do who knows me, or they come in contact with me and they know this information? What would I want them to do? I would want them to share it, because I want to be that person. So yeah, for the people that it's not for them, it's not for them, and it's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Good information. You gave a lot of great information, and I want to thank you. If anybody wanted to reach out to you, how could they reach you?
They can reach me via email. My email is LeTonya@iprotectyourbrand.com. They can also contact me through social media. I'm on all social media outlets, and they can go to our website at iprotectyourbrand.com.
Okay. Thank you, LeTonya.
Thank you
for sharing your information and coming on to Three Women Voices platform. And my name is Debbie Stokes again. You can reach me at threewomenvoices.com. You can reach me at my Gmail at threewomenvoices@gmail.com. I'm on Facebook at the number 3 Women Voices, and I'm on Instagram at 3_Women Voices. Thanks for watching.